In the multi-billion-dollar world of high-end cosmetics, consumers are essentially buying a fantasy. They see the frosted glass bottles, the gold leaf lettering, and the celebrity endorsements, and they believe they are buying magic. But there is no magic in skincare. There is only brutal, unforgiving cellular biology. To create a serum that actually reverses the visible signs of aging, you aren't just mixing lotion and water. You are manipulating macromolecular bonds, balancing delicate pH buffers, and synthesizing unstable bioenzymes that trick human skin cells into rapidly regenerating. A single microgram of the wrong preservative or a miscalculation in the lipid barrier, and your miracle cream becomes toxic acid. I have spent my entire life mastering the invisible chemistry that keeps people beautiful. I just never realized that while I was obsessively formulating shields to protect the human skin from decaying, the very foundation of my own marriage was completely rotting from the inside out. My name is Declan. I'm 38 years old, and I am a lead cosmetic chemist and biomolecular engineer. 6 years ago, I married Sloan. Sloan was a high-powered, fiercely ambitious public relations director for the luxury beauty industry. She thrived in the glamorous, champagne-soaked world of fashion weeks, influencer galas, and VIP product launches. I was the introverted scientist who spent 14 hours a day in a windowless, sterile lab, smelling like ethanol and essential oils. We were a classic pairing of opposites. I synthesized the reality in the lab, and she sold the fantasy on the red carpet. For 4 agonizing years, I poured every ounce of my personal savings, my sanity, and my genius into my absolute magnum opus. I called it the Aegis Protocol. It wasn't just a moisturizer, it was a revolutionary proprietary bioactive serum. Through years of genetic cellular research, I had successfully isolated an enzyme that instantaneously hydrated and tightened the epidermis at a microscopic level, literally erasing wrinkles in less than 5 minutes. It was the absolute holy grail of the global beauty industry. Major pharmaceutical conglomerates were spending tens of millions of dollars trying to formulate something even close to it. The intellectual property and chemical patents for the Aegis Protocol were conservatively appraised at $30 million. I promised Sloan this formula was our golden ticket. I told her that when I finalized the stabilization matrix, we would license the patent, launch our own boutique skincare house, and she would be the most powerful CEO in the industry. But Sloan didn't want to build a brand from the ground up. She looked at my lab coat, my exhausted eyes, and the sterile walls of my workspace, and she decided she wanted the $30 million, but she wanted to share the red carpet with someone else. The top layers of our marriage started to peel away when Sloan's PR agency signed a massive new client, a global cosmetics and beauty conglomerate. The CEO of that syndicate was a man named Preston. Preston was 45 years old and the absolute poster boy for corporate arrogance. He wasn't a chemist. He couldn't tell the difference between hyaluronic acid and dish soap. He was a ruthless venture capitalist who bought up small, passionate skincare labs, watered down their formulas with cheap fillers to maximize profit margins, and sold them to the masses under a luxury label. He wore custom silk suits, flew his private jet between New York and Monaco, and treated brilliant scientists like disposable factory workers. Suddenly, Sloan was spending all her time at Preston's Glass Tower headquarters, claiming she was restructuring his global brand strategy for the European market. The red flags didn't just quietly appear, they caused an immediate, severe allergic reaction. First, the profound, unapologetic disrespect. Sloan started actively belittling my life's work. "Declan, you need to wake up," she scoffed one evening, tossing her $4,000 designer handbag onto my cleanroom table. "Preston manages a $500 million supply chain. He commands the global beauty market. You've been sitting in a basement mixing lotion for 4 years and haven't made a single dime. You lack corporate vision. Nobody cares about your cellular purity. They care about the bottle it comes in." Second, the intense, unnatural secrecy regarding her devices. Sloan changed the passcode on her phone and her laptop. She started taking crisis marketing calls in her car, sitting in the driveway with the engine running for 40 minutes before coming inside. Third, and by far the most terrifying, was her sudden, highly specific interest in my laboratory vault. Sloan, a woman who absolutely loathed the clinical smell of my studio,
suddenly asked me exactly where I kept the physical USB drive containing the chemical compounding data for the Aegis protocol and if the physical 50-gallon prototype vacs were ready for bottling. When a PR executive suddenly cares about the encryption status of a $30 million chemical formula, you don't answer the question. You check the air filtration logs.
When you keep a $30 million proprietary chemical formula on a hard drive, you don't just rely on a simple padlock. My entire laboratory was routed through a custom telemetry mainframe that logged every single motion, temperature shift, and data transfer on the local network. One Saturday night, while Sloan was supposedly at a weekend wellness retreat in the city, my phone vibrated with a critical priority alert from the lab. I pulled my car into an empty parking lot, opened my secure server app, and tapped into the network feed. Someone was actively attempting to execute a mass file transfer from my secure chemical database to an unauthorized external cloud storage locker. I didn't storm into the lab. I simply isolated the connection, artificially slowed the transfer speed to a crawl to buy myself time, and mirrored her laptop screen directly to my iPad. She had her encrypted messaging app open, communicating directly with Preston. I didn't just find an affair. I found a premeditated multi-million-dollar corporate heist. Preston wrote, "My lead chemists just reviewed the molecular breakdowns you sneaked out last week. They are completely losing their minds. The cellular regeneration speed is 10 years ahead of anything L'Oreal or Estée Lauder has. If we launch this as our new flagship serum at the Global Beauty Summit in Monaco next month, our stock valuation will triple. Have you secured the master formula and the physical vats yet?" Sloan replied, her words dripping with a casual, horrifying cruelty that made the blood freeze in my veins. "I'm copying the master repository from his server right now. The idiot actually thinks I care about his stupid test tubes. Tomorrow, when he goes to his chemistry seminar in Chicago, I'll hire a private transport crew to load the physical vats of the serum into a truck. Before I leave, I'll open the main bleach valves and stage a massive chemical spill. The lab will be condemned by the hazmat team. I'll tell Declan his life's work was destroyed in an accident. He'll be completely devastated. We launch Aegis in Monaco, I'll serve him with divorce papers, and we'll be on your yacht. He's just a naive lotion mixer, Preston. He won't be able to fight your corporate lawyers." Preston responded, "You're a visionary, my love. The lotion mixer is going to fund our entire empire." I sat alone in the dark, silent cab of my car, staring at the glowing screen as my entire reality shattered. My wife of 6 years was sleeping with a corporate parasite. Together, they were actively plotting to steal 4 years of my blood, sweat, and genius, intentionally sabotage my laboratory, launch my masterpiece on the biggest stage in the world, and leave me completely destitute, believing my work was destroyed. They thought I was just a naive lotion mixer. They didn't understand the level of absolute, unmitigated chemical destruction a master cosmetic chemist is capable of synthesizing.
If you want to destroy a fraudulent cosmetic brand, you don't smash their bottles. You let them manufacture the serum. You let them invite the wealthiest buyers and influencers in the world. You let them rub it directly onto their own faces, and then you quietly let the chemistry do its job. I didn't confront her. If I yelled and locked the lab, Preston's army of corporate lawyers would bury me in injunctions, claim they had a verbal contract to the formula, and tie me up in court for a decade until I went bankrupt. I needed them to steal the vats. I needed Preston to proudly apply my creation onto his own skin on live television. So I went to work on the molecular level. I took the true unencrypted master formula for the Aegis protocol, loaded it onto a secure flash drive, and locked it in a bank vault. Then I turned my attention to the physical 50-gallon vats of the finished serum that Sloan planned to steal. To the naked eye, to Sloan, and to Preston's corporate chemists, the serum inside the vats looked and felt absolutely flawless. It was silky, translucent, and absorbed perfectly into the skin. But I am a master of bioreactivity. I fundamentally altered the secondary lipid barrier. I synthesized a highly unstable, dormant botanical enzyme derived from a deeply pigmented photoreactive dye compound. I encapsulated this enzyme within microscopic time-release polymer skiers. Here was the trap. Inside the bottle, or rubbed onto the skin in a normal bathroom, the serum remained perfectly clear. It functioned exactly as intended.
but I engineered the polymer spheres to react violently to a very specific, intense combination of stimuli, the natural heat of the human epidermis, 98.6 degrees, combined directly with high-intensity concentrated ultraviolet xenon strobe lights, the exact type of massive blinding ring lights and paparazzi flashes used exclusively on the main stages of global beauty summits. Exactly 5 minutes after the serum was applied to the skin and blasted with those specific lights, the polymer shields would melt. The enzyme would violently oxidize. It would instantly, permanently bind to the keratin proteins in the top layer of the skin. And when it bound to the keratin, it wouldn't just cause a rash, it would turn the human skin a highly concentrated, glowing, vibrant, completely indelible neon blue, like a permanent marker. And because it bound to the proteins, it could not be washed off with soap. It would take weeks to naturally fade. I sealed the rigged vats. I left the cloned fake formula on my server. The next morning, I packed my bags for my seminar in Chicago. I kissed Sloan goodbye. "Have a great trip, Declan," she smiled, handing me my coffee. "Take care of the lab, Sloan," I replied, looking her dead in the eyes. "You know that project is my masterpiece." "I'll guard it with my life," she promised. I drove away. I let her bring the thieves into my sanctuary. I let them steal the bomb. Now they just had to rub it on their faces.
I didn't fly to Chicago. I drove straight to the downtown offices of the most aggressive, ruthless intellectual property and FDA compliance litigator in the pharmaceutical industry. I sat down at his mahogany conference table. I handed him my original, time-stamped chemical logs. I handed him the high-definition security footage and the crystal-clear iCloud transcripts of Sloan and Preston explicitly conspiring to commit corporate espionage and stage a chemical spill in my lab. And finally, I handed him the official, federally approved patent documentation for the Aegis protocol, which I had secretly expedited and secured exclusively in my own name a month prior. My wife and her accomplice are going to debut this stolen, patented chemical technology at the Global Beauty Summit in Monaco next weekend, I told my lawyer calmly. My lawyer reviewed the documents, read the chat logs, and slowly smiled like a shark smelling blood in the water. Declan, utilizing stolen, patented chemical engineering to solicit tens of millions of dollars from international buyers is a massive federal violation. But beyond that, deliberately distributing an unvetted, unapproved, biologically active compound to the public is a massive health and safety violation. When this hits the skin, the international regulators will literally liquidate his entire cosmetics conglomerate. "Draft the paperwork," I said, "but do not file the injunction yet. Do not stop the gala. Let him bottle it. Let him apply it to his own face. I want him to put his face on it in front of the whole world." On Wednesday afternoon, my phone notified me that the lab doors had been breached. Through the hidden cameras, I watched Preston's crew illegally load my heavy steel vats into an unmarked truck. Sloan then intentionally knocked over a gallon of industrial bleach, flooding my workspace to fake a catastrophic accident. She left a white envelope containing divorce papers on a dry counter and walked out. They were laughing. They thought they had just executed the perfect, untouchable heist. They had no idea they had just loaded a biological time bomb into their own makeup bags. Saturday night, live from the Grimaldi Forum in Monaco, the undisputed center of the global beauty industry. I sat in my dark hotel room, watching the global broadcast in high definition. The live stream had over 3 million viewers. Preston was hyping up the crowd, pacing back and forth across the massive stage, absolutely dripping with unearned confidence. The camera panned to the VIP section, and I saw Sloan standing there, holding a glass of champagne, looking incredibly proud, believing she had just conquered the world. "Ladies and gentlemen," Preston yelled into his microphone, raising his arms. "For years, my in-house team has been building the impossible. Tonight, we don't just reveal a serum, we reveal the fountain of youth. I present to you the Apex Elixir." The crowd went absolutely wild. To prove its instantaneous effectiveness, Preston personally stepped up to a brilliantly lit vanity mirror on the stage. Under the blinding glare of massive high-intensity ring lights and hundreds of flashing paparazzi cameras, he pumped a generous amount of the serum into his hands and rubbed it aggressively all over his own face and neck. He then invited Sloan and several top-tier, multi-million follower beauty influencers onto the stage, applying the serum to their faces as well. They smiled for the cameras.
The initial feeling of the serum was flawless. Preston beamed, looking like a god of the industry. I looked at the stopwatch on my phone. 3 minutes passed. 4 minutes. At exactly the 5-minute mark, the combination of their 98.6-degree body heat and the relentless, blinding UV light from the cameras melted the polymer shields. The chemical catalyst triggered. On the live global broadcast, right in front of the most elite crowd on Earth, the magic violently died. The invisible botanical enzyme rapidly oxidized. It started with Preston. While he was mid-sentence speaking to a Vogue reporter, the skin on his forehead suddenly shifted. In a matter of seconds, his face turned a sickly, pale blue. Then the reaction hit hyperspeed. Within 30 seconds, Preston's entire face, neck, and hands didn't just look bruised. They turned an incredibly aggressive, vibrant, glowing, undeniable neon blue. He looked exactly like a terrifying, glowing Smurf. The reporters in the front row gasped in sheer horror, stepping back. Then the reaction hit the influencers and Sloan. Across the brightly lit stage, 6 of the most famous people in the beauty industry suddenly turned bright, glowing blue. "Oh my God, my face!" one of the influencers shrieked, looking into the vanity mirror. She frantically grabbed a makeup wipe and started scrubbing aggressively at her cheek, but the dye was permanently bound to her keratin. The harder she rubbed, the brighter the blue became. The entire convention hall went dead, pin drop silent, and then absolute apocalyptic chaos erupted. "What is happening to us?" Preston screamed, catching his reflection in a camera monitor. His face was purple with panic, totally unhinged, looking around the room in absolute horror. He frantically scrubbed at his own neon blue face, smearing it deeper into his pores. In the center of the stage, Sloan dropped her champagne glass. It shattered on the floor. Her hands covered her bright blue mouth, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. She looked like a ridiculous, glowing cartoon character on a global broadcast. The investors in the crowd were shouting in disgust. The influencers were sobbing hysterically on live television. The live stream chat completely broke. 3 million people had just watched the CEO of a luxury brand poison himself and his top clients, turning them all into neon blue clowns. Before Preston's security could even attempt to escort him off the stage, the heavy doors of the convention hall burst open. Local authorities and European health regulators marched directly onto the floor. I took a slow, deeply satisfying sip of my bourbon, smiled at the chaotic, screaming live stream, and texted my lawyer, "Wash it off."
You cannot recover from turning yourself and the top beauty influencers in the world neon blue on a global broadcast. The fallout was an absolute, unmitigated corporate massacre. The video of the blue faces dissolving into a crying, screaming panic went viral globally within 10 minutes. By Sunday morning, Preston was the biggest laughingstock in the history of the cosmetics industry. The influencers who had been dyed blue immediately filed massive, multi-million-dollar lawsuits against Preston's conglomerate for gross negligence, permanent disfigurement, and emotional distress. Because Preston had applied an unvetted, highly reactive, unregistered chemical compound to human skin, international health and safety regulators launched an immediate, devastating investigation into his firm. His products were pulled from shelves globally. His entire empire completely collapsed. His stock plummeted 90%, and he was ousted as CEO by his own board of directors in less than 48 hours. He was facing federal indictments for fraud and distributing unregulated substances. Sloan's life was vaporized. Preston, realizing he was facing federal prison and total bankruptcy, immediately blamed her. He told investigators that she was a rogue PR director who had supplied him with stolen toxic chemicals without his knowledge, throwing her to the wolves to save himself. She called me from a hotel room in Monaco, sobbing so hard she was hyperventilating. Declan, please, the influencers are suing me. Preston dumped me. My face is permanently blue. You have to tell them you made a mistake with the formula. Tell me how to wash it off. Please, I have nothing." "I didn't make a mistake, Sloan," I said calmly, leaning back in my chair. "I gave you exactly what you stole. You just forgot to do your thermal stress tests. I read your messages about staging the chemical spill, by the way. By the way, check your email. You've been served with a federal lawsuit. Enjoy your new look." I hung up and blocked her number. During our divorce settlement, she had absolutely zero leverage.
Because she was facing criminal charges for corporate espionage and property damage against me, the judge awarded me 100% of the marital assets and denied her any alimony. She walked away with millions in legal debt, a felony record, and a neon blue face that took 6 weeks to fully fade.
It's been almost 3 years since that gala in Monaco. After the dust finally settled and the lawsuits were paid out, I sold the real, fully functioning, beautifully stable patent for the Aegis protocol. I didn't sell it to a corporate hack. I sold it to a highly respected clinical dermatological institute in Switzerland, a company that actually understands the chemistry, respects the science, and treats its developers like true partners. I made enough money from that single sale to buy a massive new commercial laboratory, hire a full team of chemists, and my business has never been better. Last I heard, Sloan avoided a long prison sentence by taking a plea deal, but she is completely blacklisted from the fashion, PR, and beauty industries globally. She is currently working at a budget mall kiosk, aggressively trying to sell cheap sea salt hand scrubs to annoyed shoppers who actively avoid her, knowing every single day that she voluntarily threw away her golden ticket to the absolute top of the industry. Preston, completely bankrupt and uninsurable, is buried under a mountain of civil litigation and permanently banned from operating any cosmetics company in Europe or the US. If there is a lesson to be learned here, it's a simple one. A beautiful exterior means absolutely nothing if the chemistry underneath is fundamentally corrupt. If your partner thinks they can steal your hard work, push you into the shadows, and take the spotlight for themselves, don't try to pull them off the stage. Don't fight them for the bottle. Let them steal the vats. Let them plan their masterpiece. And right when they think they've achieved absolute perfection, turn on the bright lights and let the whole world see their true colors. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what's the most embarrassing public failure you've ever witnessed? Stay sharp, trust the science, and always, always test your formulas.